This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, I have a return guest on the show today. Yes, the director of The Bone Garden. And you know, this is one of those indie films that I really enjoyed. An interesting little backstory how I discovered it, because I thought it was just a fan fiction until I discovered it was a real film. And I had the chance of seeing it courteous of its director, who I have on the show today to celebrate the film's 5-year anniversary. Folks, I welcome the awesome Mike Gutridge. How do you do, Mike?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I want to say a special thank you for sending Tracy Savage to my show on Boxing Day of 2017. Yeah, that meant a lot to me. You did that.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, my pleasure. Tracy's the bomb. She's one of my closest friends, and it was no problem. I gave her a call. I said, you got to be on the show. It's really awesome. And of course, she agreed to do it. She's very gracious that way.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's interesting because I remember my younger brother, who does my YouTube videos up, he cooked this really nice Christmas dinner, and we had a huge snowstorm, and he had to cancel, and my parents weren't able to go, and he told me that I might as well stay home, and I have a few things that saved me. One, I had my cat with me. Number two, like it was first Christmas I spent by myself, you know. I had my cat, and my actress friend Lisa Langlois from class of 1984 gave me a call that day, which really meant a lot. And then I find out from you that I was going to have Tracy Savage on Boxing Day from Friday the 13th, Part 3. And I was like, you know what? It became one of the most memorable Christmases for me.
So that's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yep. And yeah, to me it was just awesome having Tracy on, and when I found out from Debbie Sue, who's been on here 3 times now, about 13 Fanboy and Tracy Savage being in it, I'm going to tell you, if my folks knew how much money I forked out to be part of that because Tracy Savage was in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I can't wait to see that. That has that's chock full of some nice Friday alumni, so that's going to be pretty cool.
Well, currently, you know, I've had Tracy Savage on the show. I've had Debbie Sue Voorhees on 3 times. I've had Tom Matthews on. Ron Sloan's been on. And I'm trying to think. Well, Dee Wallace, they got in it. She's been on, and I met her at Horrorama last year. So.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
And Adrian King's been on, right?
Yes, I've had Adrian King on.
And Ted White. A lot of good Friday alumni.
Yeah, I've had Ted White. Yeah, probably driving Adrian nuts over the Doubtfire Challenge thing, but I'm still hoping she'll still do it. Oh, yeah, man.
I'm sure she will.
Yeah. Well, I realize people are busy too, you know. Like I just heard from Heidi Holliker about that from Valley Girl, and she's right now working 17 hours because she works with a company associated with Rick Baker. So,
oh wow!
But I made a donation to one of her charities, so she said she's happy to do this. So I just wait patiently and nudge them every once in a while. But yeah, 13 Fanboy is looking great, you know. But you know, we got to talk. Awesome. Yeah, we got to talk about The Bone Garden, like 5-year anniversary. Now, I don't know how many other people are going to celebrate the film's 5-year anniversary, but I'm certainly going to celebrate it. And I had Tammy Cates on here back in February, and got to know what kind of actress she is. You know, is she going to have you go to man camp to man up? That's a manly film.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm man enough. She could kick my butt any day of the week. So I don't know. I can't wait to see it, though. She's also in another short, and I forgot the title of it. And so she's working a lot out there, and it's about time because she saved the day. I don't know. I'll tell you the story. We had someone else lined up to be in the Bone Garden, and they backed out on Wednesday, and everyone was coming to town on Friday from Los Angeles and New York and all. And so I called Tracy, who, as you know, is very good at saving the day.
Yeah.
I said, Tracy, I'm behind the 8 ball. I mean, sorry, Tammy. At first, I called Amy Steele, and Amy couldn't do it. And then I
Okay.
called Stacy Nelkin from Halloween 3 because I wanted an alumni of some horror franchise, and Stacy couldn't do it. She was right about to go on vacation. So
Yeah.
I called Tracy. I said, we're behind the eight ball. Our actress has backed out, and I need someone to play your best friend in this movie. And she's recommended Tammy right away. This was Wednesday. Tammy came to town that Friday, knew her lines, was ready to rock, and literally hours. I mean, it was a matter of hours. She did her own hair. She was totally into the part, and I couldn't imagine anyone else. I'm so glad this other actress backed out because it paved the way for Tammy. Literally, she was a steam stealer. She really was. She came in and just stole the show, and that's just how she is. Fantastic.
Oh, she was great in the film the first time I seen her, and yeah, I was happy to reach out to her this year too, and have her on here to talk about Bone Garden, and she listened to my interview with you and the one with Tracy, and she liked those, so she was happy to do the show, and yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to also reach out again to Ron Milkey. He's a very good friend of mine, and I know, I've tried to get him to do it in the past. He teaches acting, and he's in a lot of movies up in New York. But I know he expressed interest, so we'll try to get Mr. Milkey on for the 5-year anniversary as well. And he was a dream to work with. I wish I could make 50 movies with him. Ron was just great. Had all these great Friday the 13th anecdotes, and to this day, he's in one of my favorite scenes in that film because I love when Ned's dancing around with the Native American garb on, and Ron pulls up on the motorcycle. That's like a
Yep.
great little comedic relief in a very scary movie. I really like that scene.
He's in 2 scenes in that movie, do you?
Ron Milkey is?
Yep.
I did not. What's the other one?
He's one of the cops on the beach at the end of the movie when Adrian's in the canoe.
Oh, there you go. Well, see that? I didn't even know that. I've been watching that film since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. So
I
that's
don't
awesome.
know
Okay.
where I found that out from, but I found that out.
Okay.
Yep.
That's one of my, that's great. It's funny. I was doing another movie called Wood Floors, and that kind of stalled. So I wanted to make a movie in one location. I just finished up a film called Shadows.
Yep.
And it's funny where inspiration comes from because I was watching the original Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of my favorite scenes is when Adrian King's kind of bouncing around the kitchen, packing up pots and pans, shows off the pantry, and there's Crazy Ralph.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, what if you made a movie in one location, and maybe she could be packing up the camp because her father just died, or, and all of a sudden I was off and running. So I made this movie this summer, and it's in post-production right now. It's almost finished.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just about 3 siblings who clean out their father's summer camp after he's passed away. So, and it was totally inspired by Adrian King and that scene. And I even wanted to shoot at Camp Novi Bosco, but, we just didn't have the budget. And I didn't want to, haul everybody up there and put them up. So we shot it locally. But a lot of my friends who know I love scary movies, once they found out that I was shooting at a summer camp near my house, they called and all wanted to be victims in the movie. And I'm like, well, it's not really a scary movie. Sorry, but next time I'll get you.
Yeah, well, you know what? Sometimes you can save a movie, even a real independent movie, just by having a good location,
Oh, totally, yeah. I totally
yeah.
agree with that.
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah,
When I lived in California, I was in Southern California for a while, my wife and I, and whenever I needed, just some inspiration, or if I was depressed about something, because, LA could get you down, believe me.
Yep.
I would drive out in a heartbeat to South Pasadena, California, and walk around all the locations that are in John Carpenter's Halloween. And,
wow.
And this was long before Sean Clark had his great show, Horror Hollow Grounds. Like I had, you found this out through like websites or people who, I remember John Carpenter told me where one of those locations was. And my wife and I would walk around South Pasadena all the time and go to all the Halloween haunts. And it was really, really cool. I miss South Pasadena a lot.
You met John Carpenter, did you?
Oh, yeah, a couple times. I met him, first time about 20 years ago. He was getting the James Whale Award at the Santa Monica Museum of Flying.
Mm-hmm.
And a friend of mine was, an event coordinator and putting that on. He goes, you should come by and meet John. You have to wear a tux. It's formal. He's getting the James Whale Award. Daniel Baldwin. Here's the deal. Daniel Baldwin presented it because Daniel had just been in Vampires with him. And Kurt Russell was supposed to do it. And Kurt either got called out of town or for some reason at the last minute couldn't do it. And it's probably good because if I had met Kurt and John on the same evening, I'd have probably died. I'd have probably had a heart attack and died. A happy man, but I'd have died.
Yeah.
That would have been too much to handle, meeting Kurt Russell and John Carpenter at the same time. I couldn't have done that.
So, have you ever met Kurt Russell?
No. I haven't. I'm taking that as a sign of fate. You're not always meant to meet people you admire, maybe, but it's not for lack of trying. My wife and I, when we first moved to L.A., we bought a star map and drove by. Kurt wasn't on it, but Goldie was. So
I love Goldie Hawn.
Oh, me too. Yeah, she's the bomb. So, never met him, but I know easily, in a conservative estimate, easily 40 people who've worked with him.
Yeah.
And no one's ever said, "Oh God, he's a nightmare." Everyone has raved about him, how nice he is, how he knows his lines, he's professional, hits his mark, gets it right. I mean, one friend of mine who's in my first short film, his good friend played the doctor in Executive Decision.
Okay.
And I talked to this guy for a while, and he said, "Yeah, Kurt bought everybody dinner on that show, and he was just really great." And countless people I met. I know a guy who worked on Breakdown. He said Kurt is such a family man. They shot in Las Vegas. Kurt would fly home every night just to be with his family. He didn't stay, overnight, and then he would just fly back the next day and do scenes. Like, he went home every night to be with his family, which I thought, he's always been a real family man. And
Yep.
he's like this, he's not like other actors who are all about their career or real shallow. And in fact, Dick Warlock told me one time. Dick and I were talking at, I want to say Monster Mania, years and years ago.
I had Dick on the show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dick's awesome.
Yeah.
He doubled Kurt for easily 25 years, and I was lamenting how Kurt's underrated and doesn't get the respect he deserves. And I remember Dick turning to me and said, "Mike, that doesn't bother Kurt at all. He could care less about that." He said he does his job, goes home, he has other irons in the fire. He doesn't worry about how popular he is or when his movie's coming out or if he's going to get nominated. And it's true. Soon after Dick told me that, I discovered Kurt makes wine up in Santa Barbara.
Oh, wow.
He has his own vineyard. So he has all kinds of irons in the fire. He doesn't let one thing define who he is, like acting. He loves sports. He was a baseball player. He's in that cool baseball documentary that's on Netflix, and he does the wine, and his family has always come first. And for that, I've always considered him a pretty cool role model. So I'd love to work with him. I've written a couple screenplays for him, but none of that's ever come to fruition, but someday.
Well, I see you talk about Kurt Russell a lot, and I'm sitting here thinking, he worked with Tracy Savage.
Oh, I tell people that all the time. No offense to like Meryl Streep or somebody super famous, but I'd rather hang out with like Tracy and Amy Steele and Friday Something for Halloween alumni before I'd hang out with some Oscar-winning, billionaire movie star. I've always been that way. I've always been and Tracy's always been really great. Tracy and I met at NBC when she was a reporter and I was an editor, and we became fast friends. She was in my first film, Loretta, and then, The Bone Garden, and she's always just up for anything. It's funny. She originally was going to have a much smaller part in The Bone Garden. I actually wrote The Bone Garden for Adrienne King.
Okay.
And Adrienne, I guess schedule conflicts and all, had to back out. And so Katie and I looked at each other and like, who could do this? And short notice, and we go for like Tracy Savage, because Tracy has that news background. So you know how The Bone Garden was. I mean, there's that fight scene at the end with Paul, and we needed somebody who could do that, and that was a long 15-hour day. And Tracy, she's used to getting the story. Because she was a news reporter and a news anchor, she's no stranger to long, odd hours and going the extra mile and getting something done no matter what. And so it was a blessing that Tracy came on board, and she nailed it. She's so good in that movie. It's fantastic.
And boy, you must have had a huge budget on that film. I mean, look how ripped you made Paul Crackta look.
Yeah, he's in fantastic shape. That guy. That's all diet, too. He was like our little dietitian on the set. In fact, a lot of times, if he was off shooting in another room, the cast or crew members would come in and they'd make sure Paul wasn't looking, and they'd sneak cookies or some type of junk food, because Paul was very health oriented and ate healthy food and promoted healthy food and kind of only wanted healthy food on the set. So the cast and crew, when he wasn't around, would sneak cookies or, chocolate candy or something when he wasn't around, so they wouldn't feel guilty. "Oh, I'm going to eat this. Don't tell Paul." Because Paul, and it shows, Paul looks like a 20-year-old from the neck down anyway. He's ripped, and it's because he works very hard to look that way.
I like eating vegetables and yogurt, like one of my favorite things to eat is I get one of those little vegetable trays with celery, carrots, and green and red pepper, and I'll dip it in cherry yogurt, and I like eating that, but I wish I had the same kind of discipline Paul Kratke. What would he generally eat? What would you see him eat?
Well, he would do, he said when you look at your plate, he would call it lean and green. You'd want to see lean protein and vegetables. They call him Dr. Fat because he eats lots of fat because he's the one who told me you don't get fat from fat, you get fat from sugar. Okay. So, or what your body sees as sugar, like pretzels and gluten. He's gluten-free, and he was very lean protein, vegetables, drink lots of water. He promoted a book called Wheat Belly because you get fat from like wheat and bread and gluten, and so he wouldn't eat any refined sugar, and he wouldn't eat any white flour and wheat and stuff like that. And he was very disciplined with that, and it shows. He did and he also used to have his own. He had his own like smoothie blend. It was called Dr. K's Perfect Greens for Health.
Okay.
And he sent me that once, and Katie and I, my wife and I, were making smoothies with it. And it was just this vegetable blend that he had come up with that I would drink every morning. So I talk to him every once in a while. He's down kind of in Australia now. He's kind of off the grid, but we'll talk about twice a year, and usually it's all about health that we'll talk about. Like I'll get his advice on this, that, or the other. And he's the one. I had a lot of joint pain for a while. My knees and my elbows were aching.
Yeah.
And Paul told me over the phone one day, he said, cut out gluten, which is an inflammatory, and start taking fish oil, which is an anti-inflammatory. And literally in 2 days, I felt better. I cut out gluten and was taking fish oil, and he was right. My joints weren't aching anymore. So he's really good when it comes to that, and really good to talk to, and what to avoid, and what to eat, and what not to eat.
Does he still have an eye-popping experiences?
He didn't have any eye-popping ones when I talked to him. That's one of my favorite scenes in that movie. And we tried to pay homage to it in the Bone Garden, but we did not have the budget because I said, Paul, it'd be great if your eye popped out. And he's like, oh, God, don't do that. It's like a little inside joke, But no, instead we just decapitated him, so that's fine.
I remember Tracy and I, and during her interview, we talked about the fact that every time they do a body count in the Friday films, they never mention her unborn kid.
I know. It's funny. I always joke with her too because I said, in your movie, I think the producers were sorry that they killed off Crazy Ralph in part 2.
Yeah.
Because they brought him back in part 3. His name is he's Abel, and he's the guy laying in the road with the eyeball.
Yep.
Like, that's the Crazy Ralph character. I don't know why they did that in part 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always say, Tracy, you're pregnant in that movie, and here you are smoking and drinking beer. You're not very responsible, and she always laughs.
Yeah, but you know what? I wish that Debbie was the survivor. Nothing against Dana Kimmel, but Tracy Savage, I would have made her the heroine, and I'll tell you why. Watching the movie, she was pretty much the only one, and if you watch the movie carefully, she's the only one that did not shit all over Shelley.
Yeah, you're right.
She's the only one, really, who didn't shit all over Shelley. I mean,
I don't even know. Do they even have any lines? Do they have any scenes together? That's a good question.
Well, in the group scenes, but I remember what there's a scene where Dana Kimmel and Tracy Savage are walking, and she's going, it's that creep Shelley. What a sick sense of humor. And Tracy says, he doesn't realize, blah, blah, blah. I would have liked Tracy Savage to have been the sole survivor of that movie, to be frank.
Yeah, that'd been nice, and
plus she had a cool demeanor. I mean, she looked like she could probably kick ass if the filmmakers let her.
I know, totally. And she still has that. She has that spunk about her. Yeah. I know, it's funny that and also I always tell people part 3 is the only one that doesn't mention Jason by name. I just didn't realize that.
I just found that out recently too.
Anyone else.
Yeah. But yeah, you're like me. You grew up with these movies, I remember part 2 was the first one I seen. And the first time I seen a nude woman, too. I've told that story many times. Thank you, Kirsten Baker.
Yeah, she played Terry, right?
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen a nude woman. Friday the 13th. I remember I was talking to Melanie Kinnaman. She said, leave it to old Jason.
Now, has she been on the show?
I've had Melanie on, yeah.
Okay. How about Terry from part 2?
No, I would like to get her. I had Russell Todd.
Oh, cool. I liked him.
Yeah, well, Russell said that he hopes that I could get Kirsten Baker because he said that she'd probably get a kick out of that story that she's the first woman I ever seen naked.
Oh, totally, she would.
Yeah.
Totally. Fantastic. Yeah.
Out of that franchise, you must have met a lot of people from the franchise. I've interviewed a ton of people from these movies, and I always enjoy talking to the various people I've interviewed. But who have you met, and what were your impressions of them from Fridays?
Yeah, I've met my share of them, and all of them have been real, real warm and receiving, and very I met I guess. Was it Vera from Part 3? Shelley's pseudo girlfriend.
Okay.
And she I think's in Florida now, and she was really really pleasant. We talked about her and Larry Zerner and all that whole scene. That whole comic relief that they have together. And it's funny. Larry and Tracy Savage are actually good friends now. Larry's an attorney out in Los Angeles.
Yep.
And him and Tracy get together quite often, I think. And they're pretty good friends.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what became of Tracy's boyfriend in that movie. Last I heard, he was a doctor.
You want me to tell you a story? I told Tracy this story because I was talking to Peter Bracke about this, and because he couldn't get Jeffrey Rogers on the show. Anyway, I reached out. I found a bunch of Jeffrey Rogerses, and I just messaged one. I thought, maybe it's this one. The person, because I heard that Jeffrey Rogers today is a surgeon or something like that. Anyway, I got a response from this guy saying, nope, you got the wrong guy, and I messaged back and I apologized, and he said, no problems. He says he gets this a lot.
Oh, wow. Huh. Yeah, interesting.
And speaking of Jeffrey Rogers, I'd interviewed Robbie Morgan from Part 1, and Robbie, I never seen Robbie do this, but apparently she's very athletic and she can do the handstand. And I said to Robbie, I said,
really?
yeah, I said to Robbie, I said, you should watch Part 3.
Wow, that's neat. Yeah. Yeah, I know she's also like a dancer. I think I saw on Facebook she had posted some video of her dancing or something like that. And, it's funny. I thought when I watched Part 1, I always thought she was going to be the one to see us through. And then, of course, she gets killed hitchhiking. So, but when we saw her walking up, she seemed so down home and wholesome, and she's getting a ride out to Crystal Lake, and then I said, oh, this is the girl that's going to see us through to the end, and of course that wasn't the case.
Well, one of the things I liked about Adrienne King is that, number one, I always found Adrienne very attractive in that movie. There's just something very girl next door about Adrienne King. But here's the thing too. When you first watch that movie, you can't zero in on her and say she's going to be the survivor because there's not a whole lot of focus on her, like, per se, Most times you look, like in Part 2, it's going to be Amy Steele, because the focus is there. But when you look at the original, I like the fact that Adrienne, you can't really see it coming because, she just kind of blended in with the others.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. And it's funny. I almost for a while thought, like I said, it was Alice. And sometimes even now when I watch it, you could say that Brenda might see us through because she was, wholesome. And of course, a lot of people always say, the final girl has always got to be, the virgin or this or that. But Adrienne King's anything but. You can tell she's probably had a relationship with Steve Christie in that movie.
Yep.
She's smoking pot and playing strip Monopoly, just like all the other people. So it's not like she's something special, you know what I mean? She was just one of the gang. So that's what I kind of like about it. And it always debunks all these theories that the final girl has to be virginal or this or that or the other, real innocent. And Adrienne, I think, was just like everyone else,
Yep.
and she was doing things just like everybody else. She just, survived at the end. So thank God for that.
And now she's making Crystal Lake wines.
I know. Have you ever had any?
I haven't. No, she said she can't ship it to Canada.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. Yeah, she was my She was my second interview I had, and pretty much kind of set me on the way of, I got to keep doing this, But
Now, have you interviewed anyone from the New Line sequels or just the Paramount ones?
oh, I've had
Like
Adam
Jason Goes to Hell
Marcus
or
on.
Jason X or
I've had Adam Marcus on. In fact,
oh, awesome. Yeah.
Adam Marcus
Go
is
ahead.
coming back on. He and his wife Deborah Sullivan's coming on to talk about Secret Santa, so they're both coming back on.
That's great. Yeah. I'm one of the few. I've always loved his installment. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the main reasons is because it's all middle-aged people getting knocked off. You know what I mean? I just
Yep.
thought it was different. And I like when a filmmaker tries something different. I know you're damned if you're doing, you're damned if you're doing. Most people say, well, it's not the same, so it's not good. Or other people will say, oh, well, why don't they ever try anything different? And, you can't win for losing. And but I'm glad I've always loved Part 9, and I've always loved, it has one of the best openings ever.
Yes,
So
I
without showing
agree.
any scenes from the first, any of the sequels, it totally sums up what Friday the 13th is, when this real pretty girl, goes up to a cabin by herself, and there's
Mhm.
Jason. So always loved his opening a lot.
Oh,
Fantastic.
yes. Absolutely. And if you haven't seen Secret Santa, check it out.
Oh, I want to, yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got a copy of it. Trust me, it's bizarre. It's a horror comedy, but it is pure chaos.
Oh, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to check that out, and I want to check a movie called Among Friends out, which Danielle Harris directed a few years ago.
Okay.
She's from the Halloween films, called
Mhm.
Among Friends, and actually Don Shanks told me about that movie, and I keep meaning to check it out. I think it's on Netflix. I have to see what it's about.
Okay. But yeah, how do you feel 5 years since you did the Bone Garden?
I can't believe it's been 5 years. It doesn't seem like that long. It seems like we just shot it last summer, and it's great. It was a great experience. Everyone was there for the love. Nobody was there for the money because we didn't have any. So everyone was just there for the art of making a good movie. And I remember it being such a hot summer. We were out there, and it was hot some days. And we were at this lake, and we were at, this house where the producers lived. They let us shoot in their house. And it just feels good. I'd do it again. I wish we could. I mean, every now and then I'm tempted to write a sequel and get to quote the Blues Brothers, get the band back together and make a sequel. But so far I haven't written it yet, but I should do that for sure. Feels great. It's time of my life. Tracy, everyone was flying in. Like, Ron Milky came down from New York, and everyone else flew in from out west. And it was like this the little indie that could. We pulled it off, so I was proud of it.
I want to keep seeing more movies with Tracy Savage.
Oh, absolutely. She should keep doing it. She's underrated, and she's very good at it. And
Yeah,
very
and she's
believable,
still
especially
gorgeous,
down the-
man.
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I look at the Bone Garden, I look at Friday the 13th Part 3, and I'm going to tell you, she hasn't really changed a whole lot, She still looks good to
No.
me.
And a lot of people don't realize her brother was in Salem's Lot. That's a terrifying movie. Back in 1979, her brother Brad,
Yes.
he signed my Salem's Lot DVD for me, and
I got to reach out to him.
That's
Yep.
still a scary movie.
Yeah, I got to reach out to him and get him on, too, and talk about that.
Yeah, do like a little Toby Hooper tribute, because I think very few people. I've always been a huge Toby Hooper fan.
Mhm.
Very few people can make a TV movie or a PG movie and have it be really scary. Salem's Lot I thought was terrifying. Sam Raimi did a great job with Drag Me to Hell. So that's a PG-13 movie, and I thought it was really scary. And of course, The Woman in Black I thought was terrifying, even though it's PG-13. So, but Toby Hooper's right up there for a guy who could. When I met him, I wrote a sequel to Christine when I lived out west, and he was interested in helping me trying to get it made. And of course, it fell through like everything does. But I was talking to him about Texas Chainsaw Massacre once, and he said, "Yeah, Mike, he said I was trying to make a PG movie." Because I said, I said, Mr. Hooper, I'm so impressed that you didn't really show a lot of blood and guts in a movie that has the words chainsaw and massacre in the title. And he goes, well, it's because I was trying to make a PG movie. That's why. And so it was neat. That's why, that movie is a lot of suggestive stuff, and it's not nearly as bloody as people think it is. It's just really terrifying.
I've had a couple of guests from Texas Chainsaw on here.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's a masterpiece. It's just so scary.
Yep.
Still holds up 45 years later. That stuff is timeless, like Halloween
Oh, yeah.
and Texas Chainsaw, that kind of stuff. Just holds up no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But yeah, 5 years for the Bone Garden, and right now I understand you're putting down wood floors.
We're trying. That kind of stalled. I'm just trying to raise a little interest with that. So I made a movie called Shadows.
Talk about
And then
shadows.
I just wrote a movie. I
Yeah.
just finished it today, this morning. And then I'm going to, send out to my DP friend out west. That's kind of a little love letter to Halloween and the
Okay.
Halloween franchise. So I'm hoping to, drum up some activity with that, and then, get on back on track with Wood Floors with Alexandra Paul, who's another great actor, is really underrated. And she, of course, was in Christine and Baywatch and all. And her and I talk on the phone, every now and then. We'll text once a week, and but I'd love to get her in front of the camera where she belongs, and get Wood Floors off the ground. And I'm hoping to do that within the next year. But for now, I'm just going to work on Shadows and try to, just raise a little interest. And if someone says, "Hey, what else do you have?" I'll say, "Well, I have Wood Floors. Let's make it." So,
Talk about shadows.
yeah, Shadows was all, it was inspired by Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite filmmaker right now is Lynn Shelton. She has a movie called Your Sister Sister.
Okay.
And then Mike Binder has a great movie with Sam Raimi in it called Indian Summer, which is about people going back to a summer camp they used to go to as kids. So Shadows is only 3 main characters. It's only one location, this summer camp near my house, and called Nature Camps. And it's just about 3 siblings who are tasked with cleaning out their father's summer camp after he's passed away. Their father ran the summer camp.
Okay.
And, the tension that arises when siblings get together and going through old memories and old photos and stuff like that. So it's a real low-budget art house film, but I'm a huge music fan. And one of my favorite artists is Sarah Kuhn. Sarah Cahoon is in Seattle, and she's this great folk musician. And her steel guitar player, Jason, is doing the music for me.
Mm-hmm.
I have all these people who gave me songs, and these great people like Tomo Yakanama and Barna Howard, who said I could use their music. Katie Todd from Chicago said, yeah, you can use a song. That's fine. Because usually music is really expensive. In fact, Wood Floors is based on the songs by Lisa Germano. And they wanted thousands of dollars to use Lisa's music. It's so infuriating. And I remember meeting Don Coscarelli and talking to him about Bubba Hotep. And he told me how, this gruesomely expensive it would be to use one Elvis song. There's no Elvis songs in Bubba Hotep.
Okay.
Even though it's a movie about Elvis. And Don Coscarelli simply said, we couldn't afford it. He said it was incredibly expensive to use an Elvis song. So I was fortunate in Shadows to have really talented songwriters and musicians just give me their music and let me use it. And I'm forever grateful for them, because music can bust your budget in a minute.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yes. So Wood Floors, anything that you can talk about with it? I know you did a teaser for it that I really liked. Yeah, the teaser where the woman's
in it, Tammy Cates, and
dancing over the
Paul.
Yeah, like who's the woman dancing over the floor?
Who was in recording the gym for a while.
Okay.
And like I said, if we get some money, he expressed interest in maybe being in it. Like I said, we would need some money to pay them and stuff. In fact, just to do SAG is expensive. And when I just did Shadows, that was non-union. That was non-SAG. I used non-SAG actors.
Mm-hmm.
And that just, when you're doing low-budget filmmaking, it's just so much easier when you don't have to deal with SAG. Wood Floors, of course, would be SAG because I'd win Alexandra Paul in it. And she's ready to rock. So what I want to do is, I'm trying to do kind of with Sean Cunningham did with Friday the 13th. He said he made the original Friday just to keep the lights on. This was just like a little jump starter just so I could do other things.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I'm doing with Shadows. I want Shadows to hopefully, raise some eyebrows and then, boom, jump into Wood Floors head and shoulders. So hopefully that'll happen, because I'm dying to work with Alexandra Paul and get Tammy. Tammy's going to play her sister,
mm-hmm.
and get that going again.
In the teaser, who's the woman that's dancing over the floor there, whirling around?
That's my good my DP, the cinematographer who's going to shoot the film, is a good friend of mine, and that's just an actress he knows in Chicago. He shot that in Chicago.
I loved it.
And the dancer, and he did a great job with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. So, we'll keep plugging away. Don't worry about it. Don't give up hope. But that stuff falls through all the time. Like, for instance, a lot of people don't realize John Carpenter made Prince of Darkness and They Live, and there was supposed to be a third picture.
Okay.
It never happened. It was this 3-picture deal. And I remember when I was out west meeting this man, this older gentleman, who said, "Oh, I know, John. We were supposed to remake The Creature from the Black Lagoon, and it just fell through. It never happened."
Okay.
So it's like, it's frustrating, but a lot of times you'll get behind these films and you'll put all your energy into it, and just for one reason or another, they just don't happen, or they don't happen right away. And even the Bone Garden. The Bone Garden was originally going to be shot in Chicago. It was going to star Adrian King, and then suddenly it switched to the East Coast, and I had 3 different producers on it, and it was the third time, Steve and Marianne, the third group of producers, that was the charm. They actually got it made. And by then, Adrian had to back out, so we brought in Tracy. But, Wood Forest was the Bone Garden was supposed to happen 3 times before it actually did.
Okay.
So I'm used to this. It's normal.
Well, I hope
Wood Forest will happen. It's just a matter of when.
Well, I hope you get to keep Alexandra Paul.
Oh, God, me too. I'd give anything to work with her.
Yeah.
Or as she's also known, the Virgin Connie Swale. She was in Dragnet. A lot of people tell me that. They're like, "Oh, wow, you're going to work with the Virgin Connie Swale?" Who's in Dragnet with Tom Hanks and Dan Aykroyd.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. But 5 years for bone gardening, and you get these. I love I know I have you on Facebook. I love the relationship you have with your wife and your kids. Like, you do everything with your family, and I think that the fact too that and I know a lot of the censors, or a lot of the conservatives, I should say, I don't even know if that's the right word, would complain about this, but I love the fact that you share your love of horror with your kids, because it reminded me of when I went to Horrorama, and Chris Alexander, who is one of the runners, one of the people that runs that, his kids were into horror films as well, and it's like, I find they're so well adjusted compared to what we're supposed to be frighteningly aware of,
No, you're right. Yeah, true. And I just wanted my kids to get into whatever they're into. My dad always tried to force me to play sports, and I could care less about them. I could care less about.
Yeah.
I just don't follow sports. I mean, it's great if people do, but I don't. So my kids, we'll sit down and watch a scary movie together, and my kids make fan-made sequels to Halloween or Friday. My son just made a stop-motion Friday the 13th sequel, and he's doing a Psycho one today, and so I think it's great to let that creativity shine. A lot of parents, especially older parents, in generations past, would almost shun that and try to thwart it and not let kids do that. And I think it's very important for kids to have that outlet. And so, yeah, it's great, that we'll sit on the couch and watch something scary and then go out in the yard and do something scary. Of course, Halloween's the biggest day of the year around here, so we do our house up right. And we've had kids who were afraid to walk by the house before, kids. My sons will hear at school, like, so-and-so's afraid to come by the house. I said, tell them it's okay. It's just for fun. We're having a good time. It's Halloween. It's okay,
Did you see Never Hike Alone?
No, I want to, though. I see it on Facebook all the time. I'm dying to see it.
You got to see it. It's great. And it's only got like 2 people in it until towards the end.
Oh, wow.
You got the director is playing Jason, and then you got this one guy. It's kind of a found footage thing, only without the shaky cam and stuff.
Wow.
Yep.
Now, is it so it's a fan-made Friday sequel?
Yeah, and these 2 people are involved in 13 Fanboy, so it made an impression on Debbie Sue.
Now, is it feature length, or is it a short film?
It's I'd say about 50 minutes or something like that.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I'll check it out for sure. I've been wanting to. That's for sure. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you, and I'm not going to give anything away, but there's a really cool cameo in it.
Okay.
And that's all I'm going to tell you, but you got to watch to the end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is this the one? I did see one that had a cameo from Tom. No, God. Is it Tom Matthews? I want to say. Okay. Am I talking about the same thing?
Yes, that was who the cameo was.
Okay, yeah, I did see that maybe in a trailer or something. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward. I think you can order it online, correct?
Yeah, Tom Matthews shows up in it. And
Cool. My birthday's coming up on May 18th. I'm going to say to my wife, you know what? I think I want Never Hike Alone for my birthday. Because I know you can order it online. I thought I saw you could anyway, so that'd be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, they're involved in 13 Fanboy. Are you involved in any way in 13 Fanboy?
I'm not, only because, any any dime I get goes to finishing Shadows.
Okay.
Which is, getting color corrected right now in a post-production house in D.C., and then it's going to get mixed, going to an audio place to get mixed, and then we're going to add the soundtrack in. So that's a very expensive process, and these guys are doing it. I'm calling it a favor anyway. Like they're not charging me what they usually charge, and even giving me a deal, it's really expensive. So, but when you're making, and like I said, I'm also writing another one. Oh, here's the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm directing a movie this summer for a friend of mine. She, her name's Trish. She is in my movie Shadows, a main character. Mm-hmm. She wrote a film called Afterglow, which is kind of about reincarnation and takes place in Gettysburg and on the battlefields and that kind of thing. And she asked me to direct it. So I thought, you know what, I'll do it. That sounds like fun. Well, she wrote it. It's nice not having to worry about writing. And I'm going to direct, and we start shooting June 22nd in about a month. So I'm doing that as well. So, yeah, I haven't had time to really do anything. I've been burning the candle with both ends.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it's fantastic what you're doing. And, I find, too, like I'm involved in 13 Fanboy, but I'm also part of, as of right now, 2, soon to be 3 James Balsamo movies. And he does low budget horror comedies. And he gets these people, he goes to the conventions and he gets these people to make cameos in his movies, like tiny cameos. And anyway, I got a message from him one night because he was on my show 2 years ago, and I get this message from him. He says, I want you to shoot your own death scene for Cool as Hell 2. Now, Cool as Hell 1 had Tom Savini in it for like 10 seconds, Mm-hmm. Well, I met Linnea Quigley, and she's in Cool as Hell 2. So I'm sitting there thinking, I called him up, and I was like, why? What's the content? Well, he liked doing my show, so he just asked me to do a third one. All I had to do was shoot something on my iPhone and send it to him. You know what he wanted. I don't have to travel it. Yeah, evidently
Have you ever had Kane Hodder on the show?
No, but you know what? I have his phone number, and the reason I have his phone number is because 3 years ago when I interviewed Ted White, he gave it to me. He gave it to me off air. Same with Judy Aronson. I've tried to reach Judy Aronson, haven't got her yet, but I'm holding out hope because she's in 13 Fanboy. But I'm having Ted White back on. The plan is anyway. Next week to have Ted White back on. And I'm going to ask him to confirm if that number for Kane that he gave me is right, because I was always reluctant to call, even though it was given to me by Ted, because I didn't want to call and have Kane think I was some nutcase,
Right.
Yeah. But...
Yeah, I asked because, there's a great documentary on Amazon Prime about him.
Yeah, I know.
And it's really good. I didn't know anything really about him until I watched that movie, and I thought, wow, and all he went through, and how he, how he was bullied. I mean, Jason was bullied, if you can believe that, when he was growing up, and who the hell was bully Kane Hodder? But so it's a really informative documentary, and I think he'd probably have a lot to say. If you definitely should, if the number's still good, if Ted confirms it again, I would definitely try to get him on.
Well, you want me to tell you why I'm thinking about it now? Is because January 30th, we lost Dick Miller at 90 years old. You know where Dick Miller was on August of last year?
No.
He was on my show.
I
did not even have him on my list of people to contact. But because I've had certain people on my show, I just went on a whim and decided to see if Dick would say yes. And he said yes. Had I not taken that chance, I would have been kicking myself now.
Yeah.
And
he was a legend. He of course, he's in every single Joe Dante film. He shared the screen with my idol Kurt Russell in a movie called Unlawful Entry. Mm-hmm. And he was just one of those reliable. My favorite Joe Dante film, and Joe Dante's catalog is very impressive, but I've always loved The Burbs. And of course, The Trash Man and The Burbs. And And that's great. Yeah, I was a huge Dick Miller fan, and I don't mind telling you, I shed a tear the day he died because I was very, very fond of him. And he was very reliable, and he was like this local unsung hero. I mean, so many people know his face, even if you don't know his name. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, any movie buff does know his name, and it was a sad day when he crossed over. But great, great legacy he left behind.
So I'm so glad I reached out, and now his interview's not public yet, but I did send it to his wife, who was also in The Graduate, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Yep, his wife Lainey was in The Graduate, but I am going to be putting it out sometime before the end of the year, public. But yeah, it was so nice to have him on the show, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should reach out to Kane Hodder and hope he doesn't freak, you know. But
Yeah, I would definitely do that. I think he seems pretty approachable, and like he got, in that documentary, you could just talk about that documentary. It's amazing what he's gone through, and being a burn victim and stuff like that, and
yeah.
Jason, and then he was in the Hatchet series, and
Mm-hmm.
he has his own.
You've talked a little
own
bit about
legacy.
Kurt Russell. What do you think of his son Wyatt?
I think he's great. I think it's disturbing how much he looks like his dad. Those two could be twins.
Yep.
And
Well,
in fact, I was telling my wife, if I ever make a sequel to The Thing, I would just cast Wyatt Russell as R.J. McCready because he looks just like his pa. You could pick up right after part one left off. You just have to get someone to play Childs, but
mhm.
Wyatt looks just like his dad. And Kurt has been quoted as saying, I read an interview years ago in maybe a cigar magazine because Kurt smokes cigars. I forget where I read it, but Kurt said Wyatt's the best actor in the family, which is a bold statement when the family consists of Goldie, Kate Hudson, Oliver Hudson, and Kurt. He said Wyatt's better than all of them. So,
You want me to tell you something? Wyatt
what's
was
that?
in a movie I saw 9 times in the theater. I went and s- I went and saw Everybody Wants Some 9 times in the theater, and
Oh, wow. Yeah, Rick Linkletter, sure.
I love that movie so much. I've interviewed Tori Terranova and Forrest Vickery, both from the movie, and had a
Okay.
great. Yeah, Tori was Deborah Cadabra, and
Uh-huh.
well, her dad put a nice comment on the interview on YouTube, which I thought was so awesome. To have somebody's father show appreciation for the interview. But I loved Everybody Wants Some. And that was where I first
Yeah.
discovered Wyatt. And yeah, he looks just like his dad.
Oh, it's incredible. Yeah. There's a great movie on Netflix called Shimmer Lake,
Mm-hmm.
which is told in reverse. It's told in reverse, which is neat. It's like the last scene's first and it kind of moves backwards. It's neat. I had to watch it twice in one day just to kind of make sure I was getting it straight, but he's in that as well, and he's really good. And I think, if he plays his cards right and stuff, he will, one of the things I've always respected about Jamie Lee Curtis is that she totally came out of Tony Curtis's and Janet Leigh's shadow. She was her own person, and I totally think that Wyatt, will be that as well if he just, keeps being and stuff and keeps doing it good because he's a very talented actor. And,
Well, you look at Everybody Wants Some, Overlord, and the second Goon movie, you see a tremendous range out of him.
mm-hmm.
Yep, a tremendous range.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I got to say, I think we're getting down on that time for you, aren't we?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah? You go watch a scary movie?
Probably. I'm going to try. Like I said, I just finished a screenplay today. I'm going to send that out to my friend who lives in Los Angeles, and see what she
Tracy?
thinks of it, and hopefully try to get that. No, I should let Tracy read it just to get her constructive criticism. Actually, there's a female mom part in it, so maybe I'll see if she wants to play it. I'm sure she will. So
I'm
I had to
always
think for a
open.
while. I wanted Tracy to be in every one of my movies. So
I want her to be in every one of your movies.
I always tell her too, she's such a good person. I said, Tracy, if I was going to get married today, you would be my best man, or my best woo man, as I say. If I was going to marry Katie today, I'd have Tracy standing next to me up there. Because she's definitely someone you want standing next to you. And she's loyal to her fault, and she's just, charming and down to earth, and she's just full of a lot of panache and a lot of wit, and she's really talented. And, I'm proud to call her a friend. I really am.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm hoping to eventually, maybe sometime towards November, December, I'd love to get Tracy on to talk about 13 Fanboy. I might reach out to you for that eventually, because I know she called in to me. But yeah, I'm happy to have my name on a movie that she's gonna be in.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's great. That's fantastic.
Well, when you're talking to her, you tell her that I got involved, producer of this movie because she was in it.
I will. I certainly will. And you know what? I'll reach out to Ron Milkey again because I think he'd enjoy talking to you too. So I'll probably call him a little later tonight and check in with him and see how things are going with him. So Ron's a great guy and a really good actor, and
I've
have a lot to say.
I've reached out to Ron on email, but I've never heard back. And but
Okay.
I mean,
send him another one because he's usually pretty good at replying about that. He's just really good. Like he teaches an acting class up in New York, and I know his class make short films together. So he's another one guy who's super busy. But yeah, reach out again and just say you spoke to me and stuff, and I'll give him a call as well.
Yeah, because I welcome Ron Milkey on here.
Oh, absolutely. He had great anecdotes when we worked together. He was telling me all about Kevin Bacon and how he knew Kevin was going to be a star right from the start, and how he told me Kevin Bacon kind of ad-libbed. If you watch the original Friday, Kevin reaches for Ron's microphone on the motorcycle, and he wasn't supposed to do that. He kind of ad-libbed, he kind of improvised that.
Yeah.
And Ron really liked that, and so they went with it. So, he has some really good anecdotes that he'll tell you about, so you'll like him.
Yeah, well, you know what? If you get hold of him, tell him I would love to have him on. And you know what? I enjoyed having you on again today. And like I said,
this is great.
Oh yeah, I'm always checking out your Facebook, and
I know. I'm gonna check out Never Hike Alone for sure.
Yes, absolutely. I'm probably gonna put a pun title on what I'm watching.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I'm used to that.
I'm always doing that.
I know. Yeah, I saw you did it to Tammy too. That's funny.
Yeah, I think I did it to Tammy once as well. Yep.
Yeah. So, and she's super talented. I'd love to work with her again too. So, it's all about money, trying to raise money for these darn things. You know how it is.
Yeah.
And, it's neat that WC40's raised so much. That's fantastic.
Well, she went on Indiegogo and she was originally going for $50K, and it's gone double that already.
Good for her. That's fantastic.
But Friday the 13th has a built-in fan base too, so. And
it does. Fantastic. Yeah.
That also helps.
It's too bad, the Halloween 2018 they brought Jamie Lee back. I mean, Friday could easily do that. With, bringing all the final girls back, and it's a shame that they don't consider that with Adrian and Amy and everybody from
You know why they don't? You know why they don't? Because they're not 19 years old, which is pathetic because I still consider Tracy Savage to be hot. And I say that as a compliment.
It's a youth-based industry, unfortunately, and it's not right. And that's why I've always, like I told you earlier, I loved Adam Marcus's Part 9, Jason Goes to Hell, because there's no middle-aged, it's all middle-aged people getting killed in that movie. It's all adults, and, Jason's running after. So I always thought that was neat. Yeah. But no, I know, it's a shame, but.
And they all look good. I mean, I saw recent pictures of Adrian King and Amy Steele at a convention. They both look good to me. I'm sorry, but
that's fantastic. Yeah. Yep. Amy's getting younger. It looks like. It's funny. She refuses to age, Amy Steele.
I don't know. I've tried to get Amy on here. I don't know. I never hear back from her, but I don't know. It's just one of those areas you just kind of throw your hands up, and. Yeah.
How about Kimberly Beck from Part 4?
I reached out to her manager, who I discovered who was on Facebook, and he was very friendly in responding, said Kimberly's very busy, but he said that he's going to send my email, forward my email to her, and maybe later on in the year, maybe I can get her on for the 35th anniversary of the final chapter. I even sent my interview with Ted White to them, just so they could get a sense of my experience,
Yeah, sure. That's always a good idea. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but as far as the heroines go,
Reach out to Ron again. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had Adrian King, I've had Lara Park Lincoln, and I've had Melanie Kinnaman. I've had those three on for heroines. So, and I like all three. Yep. Yep. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I met Jensen Dagan at a convention. She was real warm and friendly from the Manhattan one.
The only one I've had from Jason Takes Manhattan, and my favorite part of the movie, is Peter Mark Richmond.
Okay, sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. What a gracious guy. And I've had him on twice. The second
That's
time,
great.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yep. What a gracious guy. He's in his 90s now, but I had him on to promote his book. But he worked with Gary
Okay.
Cooper back in the day, you know?
Oh yeah, he's got an impressive. He was in an episode of The Incredible Hulk, even. So
Yep. So
he's been around forever. I love Bill Bixby. So whenever I meet someone who's worked with Bix, I always like, hey, how was Bix? Oh my God! And no one's ever said a bad, like Kurt Russell. No one's ever said a bad word about him.
yep.
Bill Bixby was just, a true gentleman.
But Jensen Daggett, I can't find any contact anywhere for her. So
Oh wow, interesting. Yeah, like I said, I saw her at a convention and a couple of years ago, and she was real sweet. And she's another one. Looks fantastic. Looks better now than she did in the movie. So it's hard to believe that movie's 30 years old. Part 8. That's incredible. I can't fathom that.
yep.
But I remember seeing it in the theater. I think I remember what I was wearing that night, and now it's been 30 years. Crazy.
How many of them have you
But
seen
no,
in
this has
theaters?
been great. It's always good talking to you and stuff. And like I said, reach out to Ron again, and I will as well. So we'll get a double whammy, and I'm sure he'll be on. He's a really nice interview. He'd be great. He'd be fun to talk to.
Yes. Well, you know what? We're celebrating 5 years of the Bone Garden, and we have promising vibes for wood floors. And I think we can
and
both.
my new movie Shadows should be done this summer, so I'm going to promote the heck out of that. And like I said, that's a summer camp movie. It's just nobody dies horribly in it. So like I said, I had some good friends who know me really well. When they found out I was doing that, they're just like, "Oh, dude, I'll come and be a victim. You can put an axe in my head or something." I'm like, "Dude, and not that kind of movie this time. But next time I'll get you back."
And you're going to continue the trend of getting associates or handlers too, like you did with John Waters.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I didn't do that on Shadows, but I would love to do it on Wood Floors. His assistant is really great, Susan Allenbach. So I'd work with her again in a second.
There you go.
Hopefully, she can have something in Wood Floors. And Wood Floors also, Betsy Baker is going to be in that.
Yes.
The original Evil Dead. She's a total sweetheart. So I'm hoping she'll, she's going to be in it. I'm hoping we get that movie off the ground because it's going to have a lot of fan favorites in there, and And I think people will really like it. Paul Crackter's going to play the doctor.
You go do an Indiegogo or something for it?
I might do that. Those campaigns, everyone has one of those campaigns now, and I think I get the impression that the general public is tired of reaching in their pocket for all these films, but I might do that. I'd love to, if I can get Shadows into a few festivals and just create a little buzz, maybe I wouldn't have to do that. Someone else, because it wouldn't cost much money with Floors. It's really only one location.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Okay.
And
I'm
excited to work with Alexandra Paul, and she'll nail it. She's another one, underused, super talented. But like you said, she's over 19, so nobody cares.
Yeah.
But she's really good, and so sweet as sugar. So that's the thing. That's the other thing people don't realize. When you're on the set for a long day, you better make sure it's people you can get along with. So I always surround myself with what I call positive energy, because there's no room for negative energy, not on my set.
Well, before I let you go, do you mind doing a plug for my show?
Okay. Hey everyone, this is Mike Gutridge, writer and director of The Bone Garden, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert on. Oh, let me try that again. Hey everyone, this is Mike Gutridge, writer and director of The Bone Garden, and you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada.
And of course, we love Tracy Savage.
We adore Tracy Savage.
Absolutely.
She's easily adorable. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, Mike, I'll be keeping in touch with you, and I wish you luck. I really do. You have yourself a wonderful day. I know you will, because you have a great family dynamic going for you there.
Well, thanks, my friend. I will, I'll keep in touch with you as well, and I'll let you know what's happening. And keep me posted on Fanboy, and send me a copy of that Never Hike Alone so I can watch it.
Sure. Well, I'll see what I can dig up for you.
All right, my friend. Well, it's been great talking to you.
All right. You take care, and God bless.
You too.
Yep,
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.